Open borders invite evil.
I don't know if any of Trump's immigration policies make sense to me. I know they're rooted in this nationalist mentality.
We're a long way from Washington, and yet the issues raised in this place are really at the heart of what President Donald Trump is all about.
Our life has been tormented because of this administration.
Come November the 6th, it's what he's done here in the borderlands that people will judge him on, how he's set the tone for the country.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
It's the immigration promises he made, whether he has kept them, and what it all means.
This is Arizona, and we're here on the US-Mexico border. It's a place that has preoccupied Donald Trump for decades, and issues of race and immigration and who belongs where have been an obsession for him for a long time before he became president. Donald Trump has made immigration an absolute pillar of his presidency. And who can forget on the campaign trail those chants of "Build the Wall"?
I'm here to protect the country by upholding the immigration laws. Every day is still a challenge because you're risking your life. The work that we do is extremely important. The people that we arrest on a daily basis have a horrible criminal history that we don't want to put in our communities.
It is, in many ways, the world's most complex game of cat and mouse. Stephanie and her colleagues rely on a high-tech network of radars, infrared cameras, motion sensors and drones, in addition to their 21,000-strong team's patrols.
This border wall, you could see all types of incidents. No day is ever the same. Something like this, a person would quickly grab onto the piping, and if you could see there's fingerprints, and then they shimmy up, reach to the top, and jump over.
But it's a complex issue. Around 400,000 people have crossed the border illegally this year. But that's well down from the early 2000s, when 1.5 million were detained. And since 2008, well before Mr. Trump took the White House, more Mexicans have been leaving than arriving the US. The majority of migrants are now coming from Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Despite the fact that migration was, this spring, at a 47-year low, it's crept up a little bit now. It's something that is constantly on the president's mind.
What has been great is the recognition of recognizing that we need more boots on the ground, more funding for the technology and infrastructure to keep protecting this country.
Being from Arizona, immigration is the foremost thing on our minds. These midterms on November 6th, this is the most historic midterm election in the history of our entire country.
Donald Trump's budget for next year sought $211 million to hire 750 more Border Patrol agents. One of Stephanie's colleagues, who was shot and left to die in a remote region in June, was invited to the White House a few weeks ago to meet the Vice President, and Mr. Trump himself never misses an opportunity to praise the Border Patrol. For this crowd, gathered at Bub's Scrub in the Arizona hills, it's one of the best things he's doing.
You know, being a police officer on the southern border, you know, I've seen heroin come into the country, or heroin come into Tucson and really affect people's lives. Over the 6 years, I've seen it almost double.
Who could argue against a wall that would, like Brandon said, add to the safety and security of the country?
I appreciated that he stood up and said we will not accept any immigration visas from those countries right now that are known sworn enemies of America and who breed the terrorist type element.
Refugees that were going to come in, Muslim terrorists would be part of that.
I do not agree in giving money to declared enemies who fight against our country, and we have given hundreds of millions of dollars. Iran coming to billions of dollars of fueling the ability of our enemies to then continue what's happening in the world, to hate us and to come after us.
And yet just down the road, Talha and Hanan have a very different take on Donald Trump's immigration policies. They arrived from Syria in the summer of 2016, shortly before he became president.
كان لازم نبلش حياة جديدة بعد ما فقدنا كل شيء طبعا.
نأمن على أولادنا، نشوف لهم مستقبل.
But his election changed everything.
ما فرق شيء عن الحرب اللي كنا عايشينها، بس ما كنا متوقعين إنه رح نوصل لمكان هو أشبه تقريبا بالسجن.
One of his first acts was to introduce a travel ban, blocking all arrivals from 8 mainly Muslim countries, among them Syria. It means that their elderly parents cannot come to see them, and as refugees, they're not allowed to visit their homeland. He's also reduced the number of refugees permitted to all-time lows. Now, only 30,000 will be permitted to enter the United States. And the number of Syrian refugees allowed to settle in the US this fiscal year? 62.
كثير من الأحيان
The Rokhaya family are struggling to cope.
Do you follow the news here?
كل ما بشوف الأخبار لازم فوت على الإمرجنسي.
Fernando Najera, born in Mexico, is also struggling to come to terms with this new normal. He was brought to the US aged 3 by his parents and is one of an estimated 700,000 young people brought to the country as children, whose lives in the US are now under threat.
You know, I see it in my parents. These last 2 years have been really hard for them. That makes me sad because I know that they've sacrificed literally everything they owned for us to be here, and see their efforts be demonized is tough. There's 11 million of us here who aren't breaking the law, who are only here to work, support their families, and need to be protected.
Donald Trump has suspended their program. They remain in legal limbo, with the battle likely to go all the way to the Supreme Court.
2 years after his election, Donald Trump seems to have gone very quiet about his promise to make Mexico pay for the border wall.
They're going to pay for the wall, and they're going to enjoy it, okay?
But there's no denying that immigration is one of the areas where he has actually had the most success. He's successfully implemented his travel ban, meaning that citizens from 8 mostly Muslim countries are no longer able to enter the United States.
I will immediately terminate President Obama's illegal executive order on immigration. Immediately.
People knew when they were voting for Donald Trump what they were getting when it came to immigration. But the question for voters now is, do you like it?